All of the facts surrounding the case. I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the members at the Department of Public Safety that deal with these crimes, if there had been one, they will find it and they will do what is necessary.
Tonight, new audio shedding light on the moments before some of Nolan Wells' friends left Horn Island off the coast of Mississippi.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Everything is so heavy. This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come? 9 words. Recorded on a phone, buried for days, then leaked to the public just 48 hours ago. 9 words that split a group of friends on a remote island and left one 18-year-old boy behind. His name was Nolan Wells, a wide receiver, a son who cooked salmon for his parents the night before he vanished, a young man who told the people he loved that he loved them, hours before he disappeared off the coast of Mississippi. 2 days later, his body was pulled from the same water where he was last seen alive. No one has explained why he stayed behind. No one has explained why his phone made it back to shore without him. And no one, not even the federal agents now involved in this case, can yet answer the only question that matters. What actually happened to Nolan Wells? Before we go further, we want to be upfront. This case involves the death of a young person, and while we will not include graphic detail, some parts of this story may be difficult to hear. If you're sensitive to that, please take care of yourself while watching. Welcome back to Crime Case Desk. If this is your first time here, thank you for trusting us with your time tonight. And if you've been with us for a while, through every case, every share, every comment, thank you for helping this channel grow into a place where truth gets told carefully, not carelessly. Drop where you're watching from in the comments below. We read every single one. And please, if you haven't already, hit subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling these stories the right way. Now, let's go back to where it all began, the moment that call went out over open water. Nolan Wells grew up in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, the kind of coastal town where everyone seems to know everyone. He graduated from Ocean Springs High School, where he played football, and went on to become a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. Teammates and people from his hometown describe him as easygoing, competitive, and fiercely loyal to the people close to him, someone who showed up for his friends without being asked twice. The night before he disappeared, he cooked salmon for his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley. He hugged them, told them he loved them, and left the next morning for what was supposed to be a routine 4th of July boat trip to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi coast, part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, reachable only by boat and largely without cell service. He wasn't alone. A group of friends made the trip together, including Tristan Shepard and Javon Williams. The plan was simple: anchor near the island, spend the day in the water and on the sand, and head back before dark. That plan didn't survive the afternoon. At some point, one of the boats began taking on water. The now viral audio, "We're sinking, can y'all please come?" was recorded during that moment of chaos. A bilge pump had failed. Panic set in briefly, then passed. The boat made it back safely. Everyone got wet. Everyone was accounted for, except Nolan. By the accounts investigators have gathered, Nolan chose to stay behind on the island rather than return with that group, reportedly planning to catch another ride later. His phone and his keys stayed with the group, left behind in the chaos of getting everyone back to the boat. Christine didn't hear from him that night. By around 11 p.m., after a friend called her with concerns, she reported him missing. What followed was a search that exposes just how difficult this terrain actually is. Horn Island has no permanent structures, no cell towers, and only a handful of access points by boat. A multi-agency search meant the Jackson County Sheriff's Office had jurisdiction on land and immediate shoreline, while the U.S. Coast Guard controlled the surrounding water, and the National Park Service oversaw the island itself as federal parkland. Coordinating between 3 separate chains of command, on an island with no infrastructure, cost precious hours. Volunteer groups, including the United Cajun Navy, joined the effort. According to volunteer Brian Trasher, the beach was packed that day. Drinking was common among visitors, and the currents in that stretch of water are known to be dangerously strong, a detail that would later become central to competing theories about what happened. 2 days later, on July 6th, a park ranger recovered a body in the water off the same stretch of shoreline. It was identified through dental records as Nolan Wells. Investigators say there were no obvious signs of trauma, but no obvious signs is not the same as an answer. And for the Wansley family, that gap between the two is where everything since has unfolded. Almost immediately, the accounts didn't line up cleanly. One version says Nolan planned to catch a ride with someone else. Another says a girl he'd met that day told him the boat was leaving without him. Friends who were present, including Warren Cole, cooperated with investigators, but their stories didn't fully align on the sequence of who said what and when. Sheriff John Ledbetter's early public statement said there was no evidence of foul play yet, a comment that, while accurate to the state of the investigation at the time, did little to satisfy a family already asking harder questions. Adding to the confusion, a video began circulating online that many assumed showed Nolan in some kind of altercation before he disappeared. Tristan Shepard came forward to clarify that the voice in that video was his, not Nolan's, and that it was from a separate, unrelated incident on a different boat that day. It's a small detail, but an important one, because in a case already full of noise, mistaking one voice for another nearly became evidence of something that never happened. Then there's the phone. After Nolan went missing, family friend Tashima Hands helped track his phone using Snapchat's location feature and Life 360, eventually locating it at a friend's house. Retrieving it took about 15 minutes. When investigators and family later reviewed the device, they found 2 Snapchat accounts that had been wiped clean. No photos, no videos, despite Snapchat's typical 24-hour retention window, during which content from that kind of outing would normally still be visible to the account holder and their friends. For a teenager who, by every account, documented his outings constantly, an empty account felt wrong to people who knew him. Investigators and the district attorney's office have since agreed to a mutual, transparent review of the phone's contents going forward. As the case gained national attention, it also gained a problem most cases from a decade ago never had to deal with: misinformation moving faster than facts. A photo attorney Ben Crump initially shared, appearing to show a pool party, was later found to be unrelated, taken days before the trip, at a different event entirely. Far more troubling, AI-generated videos began circulating, fabricating scenes that never happened, invented depictions of drowning, invented depictions of assault, none of it real, all of it spreading rapidly across platforms with far less scrutiny than traditional news. An entirely fabricated murder narrative took hold on social media, one that no investigator, no attorney, and no family member has ever confirmed. It's a reminder that in cases like this, the loudest version of events online is often the least accurate one, and that verified information matters more, not less, the bigger a story becomes. Because Horn Island is federal land, the FBI became involved early on, a jurisdictional trigger that surprised many people following the case. When a death occurs on land or water under National Park Service control, federal law allows the FBI to investigate alongside or in place of local authorities. In practice, that means access to broader digital forensics resources, recovering deleted data from devices, enhancing existing audio and video recordings, and cross-referencing dozens of witness interviews against timestamps and location data. In mid-July, the FBI confirmed it was also investigating a separate matter: interstate threats made in connection with the case, a detail that added another layer of seriousness to an already complicated investigation. Investigators have continued to ask the public for any original, unedited footage taken near the northwest tip of Horn Island that day, footage that hasn't already been altered, cropped, or recirculated with false captions. Medically, the case has been just as complicated. The state's official autopsy found no signs of trauma, but toxicology results are still pending, leaving the actual cause of death officially undetermined. Unsatisfied with waiting, the Wansley family arranged for an independent autopsy in Washington, D.C., performed by a physician with no ties to Mississippi law enforcement, partially funded by former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick. It's worth understanding why a second autopsy even matters here. An independent exam doesn't override a state's official findings, but it can identify details the first exam missed, and it gives a family a set of findings they trust wasn't influenced by the same offices they're currently questioning. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lind has pointed out that Horn Island's currents have a well-documented history of drownings, offering one possible, straightforward explanation. Attorney Ben Crump, representing the family, has pushed back on that theory, citing Nolan's athletic ability and swimming experience as reasons to look further before settling on any conclusion. Amid all of this, Christine Wansley posted a personal video message to her followers, speaking not as a public figure in a national case, but as a mother and a healthcare provider, now living through the kind of grief she used to help other people process. She spoke about losing her own mother years earlier, and how this loss felt different, heavier, more disorienting, arriving in waves she couldn't predict. She's also spoken more broadly about being the only black teenager in his friend group that day, and about patterns she believes she's seen play out before in cases like this, a concern that's since been echoed publicly by Reverend Al Sharpton, who has urged caution against rushing to easy conclusions before all the evidence is in. Politically and publicly, this case has drawn attention well beyond Mississippi. Sharpton's involvement has centered on due process, pushing for full transparency rather than assuming any particular outcome. Colin Kaepernick's funding of the independent autopsy was, by his own public statements, about ensuring the family had access to answers, regardless of cost. Tyler Perry's decision to cover funeral expenses was framed similarly: support for a grieving family, not a statement on the investigation itself. Locally, in Ocean Springs, the reaction has looked different than the national conversation. Neighbors and former teammates organizing vigils, a GoFundMe started by family friend Alea Dennis, and a community that, by most accounts, is less interested in the national debate than in simply getting answers about someone they knew personally. Legally, here's where things stand. Attorney Ben Crump has said the findings of the death investigation will be sent to a grand jury for review. For those unfamiliar with the process, a grand jury referral means prosecutors present evidence to a panel of citizens, who then decide whether there's enough to bring formal charges. It is not a trial, and it does not determine guilt or innocence. It's a screening step, one that can take weeks or months depending on how much evidence needs to be reviewed. No new findings have been publicly disclosed following meetings between Crump's team and District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath, and no timeline has been given for when a grand jury might actually convene. Meanwhile, the community said its goodbyes. Nolan's funeral was held at Centerpoint Church in Ocean Springs, with visitation from 9 to 11 a.m. Reverend Al Sharpton officiated, and filmmaker Tyler Perry covered the funeral costs. A celebration of life followed at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. The Mississippi NAACP released a statement calling for full transparency, urging the release of all records, witness statements, and available footage, and asking anyone with photos or video from Horn Island that day to come forward. As it stands right now, the cause of death remains officially undetermined. Toxicology results are still pending. The FBI's digital forensics work is ongoing, and the grand jury review Crump referenced has not yet convened. There's no arrest. There's no trial. There's only an active, unfinished investigation, a family still waiting for something concrete to hold on to, and a broader conversation about how quickly misinformation can outrun the truth in cases like this. We'll be following this case closely as new developments come in, and we will only report what's actually confirmed, not speculation, not AI-generated fakes, not secondhand rumors. If you want those verified updates the moment they're available, please subscribe to Crime Case Desk. It genuinely helps this channel keep doing this work carefully and responsibly. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from tonight. And thank you to everyone who's already subscribed and shared these stories. You're the reason cases like Nolan's get the attention and scrutiny they deserve.
Good morning. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Lisa Park, Attorney Eric Harris, Justin Preston, and Cliff Jones. We have the honor of representing the family of Nolan Wells. We have present with us his mother and father, Christine and Elmore. We've just had an opportunity to meet with District Attorney Angel McElgrath and some members of her team. We had a very respectful meeting. The thing I assume some of you may know, the thing to announce, she shared with the family that there will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information and finished their investigation. We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection of the cell phone with our experts and their experts. Attorney Eric Hertz is helping lead the investigation team with former law enforcement experts who are going to help us with the cell phone download. So everybody will be able to see at the same time what the cell phone has. We also talked about trying to make sure we dot every I and cross every T. I know that we're getting about 50 calls a day to 100 calls a day from people who were there on Horn Island, people who are familiar with individuals that were there on Horn Island. And so we continue to be steadfast in trying to get to the truth of why Nolan Wells is dead. At this time, we'll have Attorney Hertz say a few words, and then Christine and Elmore will just talk about the homegoing services and celebration for Nolan, and then we'll take a few of your questions. Attorney Eric Hertz.
Thank you. Right now, there's a lot of unanswered questions. We appreciate the district attorney meeting with us, but because of certain types of confidentiality that even the victims are not allowed to know, we did not get all the answers we want. We have an independent investigation going on that involves former law enforcement, federal agents that are going to be looking into all the different information we got. The calls are coming in and we're getting a lot of information. Some of the people that I spoke to are not talking with law enforcement here. We're going to be trying to get them to cooperate with each other because we want to make sure the narrative, which has been put out that is false, is going to be corrected. So at this point, we just ask everybody to keep calling in if you have any information and let us know. And I personally, if we validate you're a legitimate call, we'll call you and talk to you. And I thank you all for showing up today.
And now, Christine and Elmore will just share with you some details of the homegoing celebration for their son.
Hello everyone. So the homegoing celebration, the funeral will be held at Center Point Church in Ocean Springs. It is going to be, visitation will be 9 to 11 and then the funeral will start after that. The plan is for the repast because again, we want to celebrate Nolan. And he would not want us to be sitting around crying and eating. And so what we're going to do is kind of have a party to celebrate him, and that'll be held at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. So we really do want to keep it for family and friends. We are going to allow media to come in as well. And lastly, his
teammates.
Oh, absolutely, teammates. We've already contacted Coach Les George because we want to make sure that those guys are there. Former teammates from high school, middle school, teams that he played against. You guys are all welcome, but of course, we want to make sure that our families for sure and close friends get there. So I do want to just say for those of you, again, if you are having protests, even the day of his service, I am asking you guys to just keep it peaceful. Nolan would never want any type of violence or anything like that. He was not that kind of person. So if you guys would, again, just be peaceful. And to the community, thank you so much. Just the outpouring of love, support. We've had some local officials, Mayor Casey Vaughn from Gaucher has reached out to us. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. He has, it's almost been every day. He's been texting to check on us. Also, Jeffrey Hullum, thank you so much. He's been texting pretty much every day. Receiving a lot of stories from Nolan's teachers, which just warms my heart, his classmates, teammates. So again, for those of you who have donated to the GoFundMe, once again, I stress, if you are not financially able to, we're not begging for that money, okay? If you're not financially able to, we understand. We thank you for whatever you can give, but if you cannot, if you would, just keep us in your prayers. And to his friends, stay strong, and please just take care of your mental health, because I know this is a lot. It's a lot for us, and I know you guys are feeling some of that too. So thank you all.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Attorney Crump, Skyler Henry here with CBS News. The last time that you spoke in a setting like this, I know you guys were hoping to get results back from an independent autopsy. I know you mentioned that Nolan had been sent to
Washington, D.C.
Is there anything to share on that front?
Not at this time, but we hope soon, very soon. Obviously, we're concentrating on the funeral services, but hopefully shortly thereafter, we will be able to tell some findings of the preliminary autopsy. Still waiting on some things. And I also, while we're talking about funeral services, want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry for paying for the funeral.
Absolutely.
As well as Colin Kaepernick for helping to shoulder the expense of the independent autopsy. And I thank Reverend Al for agreeing to officiate the funeral services. Yes, sir.
Aaron Gilchrist with NBC News. Mr. and Mrs. Wansley, you said from the very beginning that for you, this was really about getting some answers about what happened to your son. Do you feel like after your meeting today, you have any more clarity on what happened?
Well, it was just a meeting where she talked about the process. She didn't tell us any information about the investigation too much, because those things are, as she said, her role and what she has to do. But they still have questions, and that's not insignificant to this meeting. It's just in general. Every morning they wake up and there's a hole in their heart, and they are trying to say, what happened to my son? Obviously, you know, they feel strongly that he would not have just stayed behind. He wouldn't have left his cell phone. And so we're trying to get to those answers.
Attorney Crump, Brian Rose, GC Wire. There's been a lot of misinformation that's been spread online, especially the pool picture that was shared by you, and you had said that...
Well, I didn't share it, I reposted it. We're reposting everything. Let's make it clear. We're reposting everything because we're trying to get people to come in and call. And so we've said from the beginning, we're in a ferocious search for the truth. And so things out there, we are trying to post, ask people, do you know something about this? Let us know. Just because we repost does not mean that we authenticate anything. Look at our social media. We have always been very careful to say this is a repost, and we almost always give a declaration that that's what it is, a repost. And so we want people to continue to call about everything, videos, whatever interactions they saw, and thank God we are getting dozens of people calling every day saying, I was on Horn Island, this is what I saw, I know these individuals, this is what we know. They said, we understand the sheriff's investigation has hundreds of people calling too. And so the hope is that when this is presented to the grand jury, all relevant witnesses and evidence will be presented to them so that we can have a fair and impartial investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. We were very honest and candid with the district attorney, and she was honest and candid with us. Our lived experiences tell us that we must question everything, everybody's role, law enforcement role. That is the lived experience of us as black people in America. And we would be not honoring the ancestors' sacrifices for us if we did not be honest every chance we got when we talk to power. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the false narrative out there. Well, I've seen quite a few of those, so I was wondering if you could tell us which false narrative you're talking about so we can let people know it's not true. Was there a particular false narrative you were
There's a
referring
lot
to?
of narratives out there right now, and
There's a lot of narratives we're going to try to investigate all.
there's a lot of narratives out there right now. I'm not going to comment on any particular one, but whenever a case this big gets in the news, people try, for whatever motivations, law enforcement or whoever, people that call in, try to set up a narrative so that people will follow the narrative. Our job is to cut through all the noise and find the truth. And the truth needs to be found by unbiased investigation, as well as unbiased lawyers and all the people that are out here, all you investigatory journalists and everyone else. We just ask that you keep an open mind until we get to the truth.
And one of the things I will say, we are trying desperately to figure it out. And we don't profess to have all the answers, but boy, we're trying. And so when people call and tell us this is this person, and then we get somebody saying that, no, this isn't that person, we're trying to balance it all. So we want to even be more careful ourselves to make certain that we're trying to get